Hello. Let's see what we got here. Hey Biz, how are you doing? Hope you're well. Hope things are going well for you on, it is Monday, right? Yeah. Lose track of time already. Boy, oh boy. Hope things are okay for you. All right, let's see here. Don't have much planned today other than to keep working on my SVG library here, getting it up to par with, a good actual library. So let's see what's up. All right. Basically, I have to just keep working. Nothing crazy to really talk about here. Okay, let's see. I think everything should be loading up nice and easy here. Namespace shouldn't have any errors, and I should be able to load the file right away, I think. svg-clj main.cljc. Something's off there. It's a naming thing, I guess. Let me see what's up. Mondays are always a little slow on the start, but feel as if I can ramp into this okay. I do know the last thing I was working on was path data, which is like with SVG stuff. Hey, Mike, back at it again. How's it going? Yeah, it's going well. I hope you're doing okay. Hope your week was good with, I don't remember if you said anything specific about work. You're ramping up or ramping down. I can't remember which direction you're going, but I hope things went well for you. And yeah, I'm back at it, making this library. My immediate goal for the new year is to get an SVG library out and released with MIT, tested, spec'd, and actually make an attempt at releasing a useful library to the world. So that's what I'm working on at the moment. The nice thing about the SVG library is a lot of it's already built. I'm just actually cleaning it right up. So hopefully I can pull that off. I think it's an achievable goal. I'm excited to get working on it, or to continue working on it. Today and until it's done, let's see here. Last week went pretty well. Excited to see the library being created. Did you mean to switch overlays so the code was visible? Oh yeah, thanks for the heads up. That is totally necessary. Thank you for pointing that out. And last week went pretty well. Glad to hear it. That's nice. Glad there's no major concerns. One day my Twitch overlays will be able to read my mind, but it's not today. Instead, I need friendly reminders, so thank you. Oh, before I forget to mention it, well, I guess it's related, but this is different than the SVG library I've got here. I actually made a YouTube video, and I'm pretty proud of it actually. It's on my main channel, and it's I made a minimal hiccup compiler clone with Clojure, and I managed to make a video of it. So that was pretty good weekend activity that I managed to get done. Excuse me. All right. Today, and until it's done, I was saying I'm working on here. Cool. Have to check it out sometime soon. Hey, no pressure, but it is, in my opinion, it's actually it's the first video I've done that's ever. It's the first. I've done videos before, building stuff, exercise stuff, but I've not done a programming oriented video, so it was a lot of fun to try it out, and I think it turned out okay. Turns out it's really hard to edit down programming video if you want to be pretty clear with all the things you typed out, but you don't want a thing to be way too long because then, well, that's no fun. So there's stuff I can learn, but I'm happy with the first video. So it's on a different channel though than the VODs one, but I'll talk about that another time. Right now I want to work on this Path DSL here. Got a link for it. You know what? That would be a smart thing to have. Give me 1 second. I'll actually put it in the chat here. I think I'll put it in the chat. Let's give it a try here. What a great way to start the day. Thanks for taking care of me there, Mike. Boy, oh boy. While this computer's loading up my tab, I was just saying I'm working on the SVG Path DSL here. Path elements have the D attribute here, which is a string, but the string itself encodes a sort of command language here with all of these commands. So in order to work with path elements, with rotates, transforms, scales, and all of that, where you bake the change into the numbers, you need to be able to basically parse the language into all of these constituent bits. So I had kind of a first pass with that, with the line 2 elements, but I'm kind of trying to build out a structure around that to be able to work with paths in a more efficient manner. So that is all contained in here, and I was working away at that, trying to keep things relatively clean but still capable of taking in, transforming, and putting back the path data. We're back. It's Monday. Sure is Monday. It is completely Monday. Let's see if I can get that YouTube link for a second. You know what I think was happening with the mute? I think I might have it bound just to literally the M key as a shortcut, and anytime I type, I think even when I don't have the window focused, the OBS window that is, I think it's muting. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. Oops, that's going to be a chaotic issue. Let me change that setting right now so I don't do that again. Thanks again, Mike. Thanks for bearing with me. And anyone else who's watching, by the way. I don't want to assume Mike is necessarily the only one, even though he might be. But that is its own thing. All right, hotkeys. Let's just go ahead and disable that one. Oh boy, what a Monday. What a Monday. Yeah. Let's apply that change. I managed to post the YouTube link there. No pressure for anyone to watch it, of course, but feel free if you're interested. It's part of how I want to take my goals for this Twitch thing and all that this year. I want to try my hand at doing a few different kinds of media and whatnot. So, little experiment on my end, and it was a lot of fun. So I'm excited for it. But yeah, no pressure. Okay, enough chit chat with that. We can chit chat about whatever we want, but I am going to try and get a little further with this path thing here. All right. Okay. I'm just now triple checking that I haven't muted myself somehow again. It looks good. Okay. We're on the right scene. I've pasted the link. Do I want to become famous? I might, but bots aren't the way to do it, I can tell. Oy. All right, let's get this reported. Da, 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 da. Okay. Man, I'm going to be a pro at reporting and banning bots. What a great skill to have. Oh, so sad. Okay. So, this path DSL thing, since it comes in as a string, basically I'm just trying to split it. Well, I'm kind of normalizing it a little bit in a few ways. And I have, what I think makes sense is I'm kind of trying to split any given path string into what are called commands. Now, command is essentially one of these letters, either uppercase or lowercase, followed by the appropriate amount of numerical arguments to complete the command. So a move to, for example, will be capital or lowercase m followed by an x coordinate value with a space and then a y coordinate value. It could be a space or it could be a comma. And at least I think that's true. Can it be commas? Now that I say it out loud, I'm not 100% certain. I do know that spaces are acceptable. Here's an example of one with a different one. Q is a Bezier curve. Quadratic Bezier curve, I think. Yeah. And uppercase letters mean the coordinates that are part of that command are absolute values, so the position is relative to 0, 0. Lowercase means they're relative coordinates, which means the position is relative to the position that the virtual pen or the cursor arrived at from the previous command. So since that, well, even absolute or relative, it's also the case that a command like L, which is a line 2, only has an X and a Y input, but you need 2 points to draw a line. So where does the line 2 command get the other point? Well, it is implicit that the starting position is the final position of the previous command. So in order for me to make segments of a path that are valid on their own, I need the sequence of commands, and I need to take, for every command, I need to take the current one and the previous one and use the data from both to make the segment of a path. So the two concepts I've got that I'm working on here is the command, which is just the data here in a map. And then there's the segment, which is a different map that combines two commands. And then the whole idea is that the path segment could be converted into a completely valid path attribute string on its own. And then you can take any number of segments and combine them together. I think that's the kind of approach I'm going for, because it pretty much makes sense. At least I hope it does. I might find later that the idea of commands and segments as separate things is a little overkill, in which case the idea of segments would be unnecessary. But I'm going to roll with it for now, and if it ends up being too convoluted, I can work my way back from that and kind of, I know commands are necessary, so I'll have that. So I've got all of this structure here to kind of help me along with those extracting that data from a string. Okay, before I do that though, I actually did notice, I tried to load the library and I think I renamed this and forgot to change all of its callers. Okay. Oh, that's right. I turned it into this vector to string. Okay, so this here, I must have used it somewhere in my shapes here. Or perhaps not. The other thing I don't have a solution for yet is handling text elements. So every other shape I can transform and rotate relative to its own center point and stuff like that. But text, I don't have a solution for that yet, because text is the bounding box of any given text is dependent on user input. So the text that it is actually input into the object, so it could be a whole sentence or symbols or whatever, and the font and the size. So those things that the user can specify, there's no way my SVG handling code can know those things without them being explicitly stated. And then if I wanted to get the exact bounding box to get midpoints and stuff like that, or centroids I should say, not midpoints, I would need to basically make a whole font loading library to handle all the glyphs and all of the curve data of every font shape. And I feel as if that's beyond the scope of this particular library. So text kind of breaks the approach of rotation and scaling and all of that stuff that I have for every other shape. So don't know exactly how to handle that yet. Mistran, Mystran, sorry if I get your name wrong there. Any programming having to do with text is typically a huge mess. Yeah, I kind of have the that feeling. Even if I, especially if you want to draw it, I know it. You know, young and naive me, aka me a couple months ago, was thinking, oh, I won't have to worry all that much about text stuff. If I just use SVG, it'll handle everything for me. And that's not entirely accurate. Now, I'm not complaining. It's just the reality of things. But even if I just make all of my text elements literally as simple as this, right? I can render this into an SVG thing, and then of course the browser will handle all of the rendering for me. But this, like, it doesn't handle text wrapping. I have to manually shift things all over the place. If I scale every object in a group, but then the text doesn't scale the way you think it would, so I have to scale the font size down. Even if I leave things as what I would consider simple, there's always this work you have to do. So it's it's not always the easiest. But hey, you know what? That's just gonna be fine. I can deal. No, but you're totally right. My strand, misstrand again, or yeah, again, apologies if I don't know how to say your screen name. I'm not particularly good at guessing the correct pronunciation right away. I'm not sure if I've seen your screen name in the chat before. Are you new in this in my small little stream here? I mean, if you are, that's really cool. If you're not, I'm sorry for not knowing sooner. Mist as in mystic. Mistran. Okay. Cool. Thank you for the tip. I'll do my best to remember that. Now I came here for the first time today. Okay, cool. Well, no pressure on your end, but I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're chatting. Thanks for that. It's really nice. You know, I'm still, as you can obviously tell, a really small stream, so it's always exciting to see chat and new screen names show up. So cool. Do you do Clojure yourself? Used to people pronouncing it weird to the point where I might change it on Twitch. Oh man, well, I'm sorry to be part of the problem. I wish it probably would be a horrible thing to actually do. But it'd be fun to have a little thing that pronounces a name for you when it like it could just pronounce it into my ear for me, so then I know. Then I look like a pro. Not Clojure. No? Do you do like Clojure script, or totally new to Clojure all around? What am I doing? I'm just opening and closing this as if it's helping me do something, but it's not. All right, what I'm looking for is my old call here to this, what used to be point to string, and I think it might be here. Thought I knew where I was going with that, but apparently I don't. Let's see. I've probably looked into most programming languages you can name, never written anything non-trivial in Clojure as such. I've written a custom Lisp implementation that's roughly like Scheme, but nothing in Clojure, I guess, eh? Well, sounds like you know quite a bit quite a bit of stuff anyway, so you mostly tend to write in C++, more interested in the programming itself rather than any particular language. Yeah, I get that totally. I will watch other streams and other programming videos, and within pragmatic reason, I try to understand things as agnostically as possible, like in theory, the concepts underlying programming can be transferred across, if not every language, multiple different ones. And if you understand things well enough to not worry about the language itself, that's the first step into good understanding. It might not mean that you know what you're doing, especially in my case, but it's always a good start. In any case, not completely new to the Lisp family of languages. Yeah, if you've written a scheme interpreter of your own, or implementation, might not be an interpreter, you probably know at least enough to follow along here. And I mean, I am not, what I'm working on here is, it's not totally trivial, but it's not like the most advanced stuff in the world. You'll probably be able to follow. If you can't, you just ask a question, or you do whatever you want, of course. No pressure from me, no skin off my teeth or back or whatever the phrase is, I don't know. Not exactly scheme, but semantically about the same. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Fair enough. Did you do it in C++? Man, when I was in high school, I did the nerd thing. That's maybe unfair to say. I joined a really small group of people who decided to stay after class and learn programming. And we happened to use C++ at the time. I can't say I fell in love with it, but it might be unfortunate that, in the past it was more than I was in over my head with it, and I just never felt like visiting it again, but I don't know. I've just not really delved into C++ all that much myself, but I'm sure it's a good language when you get to it. Okay, I've just lost myself, unfortunately. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go zip up here and start popping things into the REPL until I hit an error, and then that way I've caught my own brain up to where I should be. All right. It's a Monday, got to ramp things up slowly sometimes. The old brain box is still hoping for the weekend, Learned programming when I was about 7. The Lisp interpreter thing was around the time I tried university. Yeah, okay. 7? Yeah, no, when I was 7, I was, let's see, running around outside in our greenhouses. I was probably trying to play a video game or two, but I wasn't that good at that. But programming was not in my wheelhouse until high school. Sometimes I worry about that, but you know what? Starting young is great, but programming is one of those things that, with a bit of time and focus, you can learn it. You don't have to have had it when you're a kid, but it sounds like you've been at it for a long time. It's I hope you still enjoy it, at least for the most part anyway. All right, let's see. Okay. There we go. I suppose if you're at all curious, in Clojure, sure, you can learn at any time. Just I was always very interested in how computers work. As soon as I learned how to read, started reading programming books. That sounds great. That that's awesome. I'm sure that starting to absorb all that knowledge and maintaining the interest and stuff over a long period of time ends up paying dividends, right? Some 30 years later, you do it just for the fun all the time. Oh man, that you know what? I'm happy for you. That you enjoy something so thoroughly that it's a part of your life in that way. That's great. I hope I keep up my end of things for as long as I can as well, because it's genuinely fun and keeps the mind sharp. There's always new things you can try and learn. It's great. I guess just to give you a very, very, very quick tutorial on what I'm trying to do here. I'm working on an SVG kind of wrapper helper library here for Clojure. Clojure uses, you may have heard of this, it's very common. There's this idea called Hiccup that lets you write simple data structures that can compile to XML tagged strings, basically. So people use this to make HTML quickly for React components and all that kind of stuff. You put in, basically it's just a Clojure vector with a keyword that is the tag, and then an optional map of properties, and then content, where the content can be nested structures of this as well. And then it compiles using the Hiccup HTML compiler into this string here. So I'm not doing any of the compiler side of things here, but since SVG is an XML tagged structure, you do something similar with your custom Lisp to generate your static website. Oh, nice, perfect. So I'm not making the compiler or anything. It's, you know, it's a well-tested library at this point. Lots of people use it in Clojure, so it's not a surprising thing. But what I'm doing here is building out. It's about the only thing I use that custom Lisp for these days. A very, very particular Lisp, right? The user base is user of one for one specific project. Hey, nothing wrong with it. But what I'm using these Hiccup data structures for is creating SVG diagrams. In fact, one of the reasons that matters to me is so my mom, she quilts and she sells her design pattern PDFs. So this is a quilt that she designed, and I help to create diagrams, and all of these diagrams are SVG diagrams, and I've written SVG library to kind of programmatically create these patterns. And the whole idea is, you know, if you define a set of shapes here, you can use that symbol later on in more advanced shapes, right? And so you can kind of build up a bunch of different diagrams that all reference bits of the same code. There's a lot of manual work in this one I'm showing you here. Like, so here we go. I'm quite proud of this. It's a cool looking diagram. It's a fun quilt that my mom designed. But what I'm working on here is pulling out the SVG stuff from this kind of prototype library that I've been building. And I want to open source it and put it out on GitHub and actually get some Clojure users, get their eyes on it, you know, get code feedback and all that kind of stuff. That'll really force me to, I think anyway, up the code quality, up my understanding of how other people will end up using my code and all that kind of stuff. So that's the bigger picture of this SVG library. I also, in other videos and stuff like that, I make 3D models, and I have a similar library related to this stuff that helps me do 3D modeling. The idea there is to make parametric design documents and make custom stuff for manufacturing companies so that they can automate certain parts of their design process. So I'm not going to get anywhere close to done that in today, or, you know, I have this year to be working out different business models and all that stuff. Most of that's happening not on stream for, well, I mean, it's either boring or not worth streaming or not a good idea to stream. Anyway, I'm going out on a tangent here, but today the SVG stuff is a much narrower focus, something I can actually release and get going. And this is just an example use case that I happen to be proud of it. It's pretty cool in my opinion. And I do think the library, cleaned up enough, good tests, good documentation, can be useful for other people. So that's my motivation. Yeah, writing a library for other people requires a higher quality and than a quick hack that works for one particular case. Yeah, totally. So writing good libraries is very hard for that reason. Yeah, so I'm not expecting it to be easy, and but I am expecting that I can actually do this, and I want to do it, so I think I will. Sort of trying to polish your C++ GUI toolkit for a similar release. There's a lot of stuff you should clean up before you let other people touch it. I know that feeling. The trick, the other side of that coin is, right, at some point you have to kind of be okay enough to release something even if it's not quite perfect. So, you know, I kind of guess different developers and people with more experience over the years will be more comfortable with knowing when that is. But for me, I'm not there yet. So that's why this svg-clj library is a nice non-trivial goal that I'm pretty sure I can achieve in the nearish future. So I'm personally really excited to be working on it. Okay, so today I mentioned it a bit. The path element here has a special D attribute that is a string. The string itself has basically a whole domain-specific language for drawing different line types. So I'm working on trying to build out a bit of structure that can help me manipulate that. The I'll fix this later stuff is something you don't want people using. You know you're going to change it eventually. And breaking an API that people use absolutely sucks. Yeah, totally. That's exactly why, like, for myself, I've been doing this SVG stuff in what I am basically calling a prototype sort of fashion. The way I decided to go about discovering which features would make sense to put in the library was build a sort of base set that you know is useful, do a project with it. So for me, it was make a quilt pattern design, then change the stuff that was a pain to use, or add the stuff that you ended up needing to add anyway. Do that a few times, not worrying about breaking your own API because it's just you dealing with your own garbage, right? And you do that a few times and you run into a pretty clear understanding of the things that you know you need, the things that you think would be good but don't need right away, and the things that are out of scope of a useful library. Once you're at that point, for me anyway, once I kind of reach that point, now I feel confident enough to throw in some good documentation, do all the good cleanup stuff, and put that out for people to start consuming. So that's worked for me anyway. I'm sure in different production environments, you know, you get different results, but the ability for me to make a bad prototype, try it with an actual product that was going to end, like a project that had a tangible PDF as an output, and doing that over and over again really helped me understand the kind of features I actually needed. So it was really helpful. Of course, you don't want to be doing that when other people could be using those APIs, because they're going to break and people are going to be walking away from you in a hurry, right? Yep, that GUI library I'm talking about is very much like that. Been completely redesigned 5 times over the years. Only now I'm starting to feel it might be something I'd let other people see. Sounds like you put a lot of work into it, right? Well, you know, I hope you can get it to a state where you're happy to put it out there. That would be exciting. Okay, so this new path implementation. What's what? Where was I last? Excuse me. All right, let's see here. Okay, so I was working on something to start. See, I actually don't know if the word parse is the correct thing here, but that's what I'm using for now. I'm working on a multi-method to kind of dispatch on the different command type to produce the valid command. And here, yes, this is what I'm doing now. I'm making a segment structure that takes two sequential commands, puts it into a data structure that lets you understand that segment completely on its own. That's what I'm in the middle of. Okay. Use it for actual applications. It works and all. It's just a question of, is this API stable enough to make it public? I feel as if that's an eternal question in some sense. And I'm sure you can get there. Put in a bit of that effort. I mean, you've done 5 years of it. You know the library pretty well. I'm sure you can make some pretty smart decisions and get a nice library out there for people. I mean, if that's what you want to do. Sounds like fun though. All right, turns out I'm gonna go to the washroom for a minute. I will be right back. I promise I won't be long. In the meantime, check out this be right back animation that I made with my SVG library. Oh, hey, Mike, you're back again. Good to see you again. Yeah, Mistrin, yeah, please, please stop chatting. I'm kidding. The more the merrier, honestly. It's fun talking in chat. All right. I was explaining to Mistrin the loose iterative approach I was trying to take with my libraries and stuff. I showed him the quilt design stuff I've been working on and all that kind of stuff. Mistrin was mentioning that that they've been working on C++ GUI library and all that kind of stuff. Good chatting. Definitely more exciting than a work call, Mike. Maybe not. I shouldn't be making fun of your work. That's not very nice of me at all. Oh boy, maybe today I'll actually get some work done on my end, by the way. We'll have to see. Let's try to remember what I was actually doing, though. That's the thing I need to figure out. Okay, so I'm going to just do a good old-fashioned copy and paste here. Let's define A as this string, just to mess around with. So A is some path string that I ingested from some SVG path. And what do I need to do to get it into commands? I need to do this here, path string convert into commands. So path string, no, doesn't exist. I'm pretty sure I, well, maybe I didn't. Ooh. Oh yeah, I named string, not s. Not totally sure if that's smart or not, but there it is. Oh, AutoMod's being a little picky today. Let me allow that message there. It says the word suck is a little bit too racy, apparently. I allowed it. It's common parlance. It's fine. C++ GUI library. Checked out X11 C++. It was not friendly. Oh wait, did I click allow? Yeah, Twitch has made some pretty big changes considering the recent events in Canada's friendly neighbor. Oh, there we go. It worked there. I mean, I can see why AutoMod would be a little bit hesitant to allow that, considering its common use in less friendly ways. Yeah, the problem with automatic filtering, yeah, actual language has way more nuance and contextual meaning than an AutoMod could reasonably figure out. See the message there? Yeah, Mistrin, part of this is, my chat isn't like rip roaring with tons and tons of content, or pardon me, comments, so I haven't really run into the need to look at that stuff all that much yet. So you're the lucky lucky user to run into some issues. The other day I had someone trying to just put a few emotes in, and they got like banned temporarily, and I had to figure out how to unban them, and it was a scene. It was a scene. Just another project to add to the list, I guess, Mike? A Clojure-based AI that interprets context. Let's go. You know what? That can't be that hard, right? Easy. You got a temp ban for too many symbols for a one-liner C code snippet. That's hilarious. That should be like an advanced code golf restriction. Is you must provide a one-liner solution to this challenge that will pass the AutoMod of some small Twitch user's channel. Very convoluted rule set. Oh, it was a C programming channel too? Oh boy. Well, the funny thing is, to all my friends and family that don't do programming themselves, right? They know that I taught myself a lot of programming, and it just looks so bizarre from the outside. But, we're still just humans, right? Computers are still confusing to us a lot of the time. So, I completely understand having some AutoMod feature that you didn't know was on be active and all that kind of stuff. It happens. It's fine. Nightbot went crazy, automatically deleted all the past messages. Oh my goodness. Brutal. Well, at least you got a good attitude about it. I can't say I've had anyone try to paste code into my chat, so I don't know what would happen on my end. I'm going to assume it might flag your comment at least. So there be dragons. All right, let's run this. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Let's run that on A. Okay, so A was this string, right? M with an X and a Y, followed by an L, and another L. And then Z is the close command. So this function here gives me a sequence of 4 command maps here. So it gives me the command type here of move, line, close. It specifies the coordinate system was absolute in every case because these are all uppercase. And then the input to them was, it just takes the numbers. So if I def B as the same string, but I lowercase those things, can I do it? There we go. L. This Z doesn't actually matter, but I'll do that anyway. So if I run the conversion on B, it's all the same commands, but the coordinate system here is relative in every case except close, which I guess I didn't. I guess it's just always absolute because it doesn't matter. I should maybe make that say nil. That's probably the smart thing to do. Let's see here. What's the right thing to do in this case? All right, let's see. It doesn't matter that much. I do not know why. Where's the coordinate system one? Here. Okay. So this, why is that false? Let's see here. Oh, okay. So there is a little issue here. This predicate here, I threw it together. What I need it, or what I want it to actually do is I want it to tell me for any alphanumeric character in the string if it's uppercase or lowercase. So in every case, in every command case except for the close command, there will be an alphanumeric character followed by something else. But in the Z case here, it's just going to be a Z character. So what I did here was let the count dictate, right? So if I string split the M100, 200 string, for example, on this, like I have here, that'll give me a list of Oh, of course, I have to make it lowercase here. So that gives me a list of 2 elements, and I just use that fact to give true or false here. So if it was 2, thus was my original logic, that would indicate that it did in fact split with a lowercase character, which, you know, is fine, except for the fact that here it split away the Z character, which is, you know, not helpful. And so the Z gives me an incorrect result. And now even so, what might be good to do is just have a conditional for if the character is Z, return nil, otherwise do the normal check. That's not exactly clean, but I'm going to leave it that way for now because it's the only thing I can think of, to be completely honest. So, I don't like that either. I'm not a fan of that. But let's try it. If string / uppercase CS is equal to Z, nil, otherwise this. Okay, that should work, but is not very clean. So let's put a little note here. Clean this up a bit. Only issue is incorrectly stating that a Z command is always abs. That it should instead be nil. Solution was an if statement. Probably can be cleaner than what you see here. Boom. As long as I leave a note that shames future me, I can I can leave it. That's fair, right? That's legit. Let's check that it actually works though. Okay, so relative Z nil, Z nil. Everything else M 100, 200 is false. Oh wait, maybe it would actually make sense to let me see if this might be a slightly better way. Let's try this. Okay, so I'm gonna copy this bit here. I'm sticking with low balls apparently today, sticking with the easier stuff because couldn't figure out what to focus on. But maybe once this is done, I can actually put a path segment together. I think I can manage to do that. I kind of want to, before I end the stream today, at least have something that stitches back together a path string from a sequence of commands. If I can get that, then I've got kind of the start, all the transformations, and then the end again. So it's just the middle bit of using the map in the rest of the library. So translates, rotates, scales, wiring that all back into the path producing function, and it should be okay. So that, I think that's reasonable to do. So before I move on there though, the idea I had basically here was you do let new string be string / or CSX transformed command string. Naming these little names in the lets are always a little hard for me because they kind of don't matter, but they do matter if you want to try and understand the flow a little bit. But so much pressure when it comes to putting names on things. So if I let CSX be first of string split, the string with the original string with A to Z like that. Okay. So what's happening here is the same thing. You just split the string. That will turn it into a list even if it doesn't split. I do believe that's true. Let's double check that. So here, for example, the string I put in was Z, and if I do first of that split, then it gets Z out again. So if the input string and the result after splitting are equivalent, then nothing changed, therefore it is not relative. Otherwise it is. I think that's cleaner. Does that make any sense? Perhaps. So that makes it a single statement again. I don't know which one of these I like less. But we'll try this one out and see if it runs into any issues. I think it should be fine. So if CS and CSX are equal, it has to be in the inversion of that, or I could turn this into absolute. So this has to be not that. All right, let's try that one, and let's comment that one out. Okay, so now relative M false true. Okay, that's working so far. True. Okay, so that's fine except for now. Z and Z are not reported as nil. Don't know what I like better. Leave them both here. This one's commented out for now. I can make that choice when I go through this again. But that's fine. That's, I think, pretty good. At least gives me two reasonable approaches, or two technically working solutions. Don't know if either one is ultimately reasonable, but that's a decision future me can deal with. Whoops. What did I do? There. Okay, save this. All right, let's go have a look at this path segment business. Oh, did not load. I keep forgetting that I didn't load the file at the beginning of this session, and now I just keep doing things one at a time here. Okay, so commands are good. Path segments is where I'm at. Let's build this. Ooh. Looks like something's not complete here. Ooh, my mistake. Okay, so this convert LV command thing is something I don't know if what I've done will be correct in every single instance, but what's happening here is in the situation where you have a horizontal or vertical line 2 command, you don't even have, so with a line 2 you have the end point, you have the end X and end Y, but with a horizontal or a vertical line 2 you don't even have the end Y or end X, depending. So anytime you run into a horizontal or vertical, you need to look back one command at least to get the other coordinate that was missing. So for example, if you have a horizontal line 2, the command will be H followed by some number, only one number. And since it's a horizontal command, it'll mean keep your Y position the same, but move your X position to this spot. But if I'm splitting all the commands out and then building segments that are perfectly self-contained, I need to know the prior position. The potential issue here is if you happen to chain multiple H and V's together, you might need to step back several things at once in order to, hey, not so smart contract. Thanks for the follow. I appreciate that. That's really nice. Hope you're doing well. Not sure if you're tuned in and can hear this, but just in case you are, I hope things are well with you. Feel free to join in the chat. Hey, Not So Smart Contract. Hello. It's nice to see you here in the chat. That's great. I'm always excited when people are in the chat. Hope your day's going okay. Okay, so anyway, what I was saying with H and V commands here in the path, you need to look back to get other data, right? So this was basically, the idea is if you have a sequence of command maps, you run the convert LV command over the pairs, so then all H and V segments get converted to their equivalent line 2 to make the next step a little easier. Meh, could be better, but I'm fine. Hope you're fine as well. I'm doing okay. Sorry to hear that you're not at the tip top, although in fairness, I guess, you know, not every single day can you be the best possible feeling you could. I don't know what I'm saying. I hope your level of fine is like on the upper half of pretty good, you know? I don't know what I'm saying. I just hope you're doing relatively well. Yeah, life is a design flaw. Oh man, sometimes. You know, I guess, you know, on a down day for me, I completely agree with that sentiment. On a good day, I think, you know, all things considered, any one agent, human, animal, whatever, I mean, we're doing pretty good considering the limitations of our brain and our body and all of that, right? We don't have perfect information. We're just doing what we can. So hang in there, right? Unrelated to that, do you do any Clojure programming yourself, or programming at all? I get different people coming into the chat from time to time. It's always interesting to hear if people do Clojure or if people do programming, you know? I am just curious, and of course, if you don't feel like answering any of my questions, you don't have to, but it's nice to hear. Path segments. I'm going to assume for fun that I have perfectly formed command maps, and then I'm going to use that to build out a path segment here. Front-end developer who wants to be a full-stack developer. You're also UI UX designer. Wow. Got a few credentials there. That sounds like fun. So your front end, do you use ClojureScript at all? Also educated in marketing and branding. Well, you definitely got a lot of that front end stuff that people like to hear about, you know? Sounds great. Sounds like a fun skill set. Yeah, so front end, I assume you're learning Flutter right now. I'm not familiar with Flutter at all, to be totally honest. I have never used it. I'm not much of a front-end developer. I mean, I'll show you. You never checked Clojure before? So, pressed a little button there. If you're ever looking it up, this is not to knock you here. It's spelled Clojure. If you ever want to Google it, just so you don't typo it by accident. Right here, Clojure. Otherwise, yeah, there you go. Flutter cross-platform mobile app dev framework. Beautiful native apps in record time. Ooh, sounds fancy. Made by Google. Fast dev. Native performance. Oh, man. Huh, cool. Let's click the run button. That's always fun. Well, I don't know what happened. Oh, there we go. I feel as if this little example is not designed to be squished into a window this big. It's based on Dart. Ah, okay, that's cool. Can develop websites and desktop apps with it too, but it still has its time for that. Right now it's better to be used for mobile dev. Ah, okay, gotcha. Oh, nice stuff. Sounds like a fun thing to have learned. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I'll tell you, I'm not much of a front-end dev myself, to be totally honest. I'll show you the most front-endiest kind of thing I've done is something like this. If I go to this little static site here, that's a picture of me, not that crazy or anything. Let's see, what's a good example? None of these are particularly great. None of it is front-end design, I do promise that. Let's go design. Here, I'll show you the dumbbells. So this is a proof of concept. It uses React, but this is live recalculating SVG, and it works. It's meant to be a sort of parametric design tool, but as you can see, there's a lot to be desired. So I am a CAD and engineer type person. Like I design. I was an industrial designer kind of thing before. So I do 3D modeling and stuff like that. I build, this is an old project, but I build metal stuff, and I have this is a 3D viewer of some pieces that I built a while ago, and like this is nice stainless steel piece. I don't have this anymore, but it was an iPad stand that I built. So that's my background. So UI is not my forte yet, but the idea for this little thing I'm showing you now is not so much the front end as the idea, but the documentation as the idea. The performance is great. Are you being sarcastic? Because there's a lot to be to desired yet with that. So I'll say it works as a proof of concept, and I'm not trying to knock myself. Like I'm not trying to be overly humble or anything like that. But it's not where it needs to be for what I want it to be, you know? Being a bit sarcastic, yeah, that's totally fair. But so the idea of this I'm really excited for. Let's see here. You always postponed learning about SVG. Performance is great. No, oh, I already read that. We know. Not in a bad way, just observing. Oh yeah, no. Don't worry. I'm fully aware that there's improvement to be made. But the idea of this I'm extremely excited about, and it's like it is my goal to be building a robust library for parametric design documentation like this. The dream is to have good, like, performant things that let you, let's say if you're a designer, you can either build or have an interface to some part of your manufacturing pipeline. You could give it to technical sales. They could take their iPad and iPhone to their customer and say, okay, boom, here's the product we've got for you. What's your room size? Let's design that. You know, let's make the the pipe flow for this pump, whatever it needs to be. Put in all the little details. You bloop it and you press load, and it makes a nice 3D model for the customer to see on the phone. And you click commit or send to design team or something, and boom, the step files, the drawings, all the design logic gets put from what the customer or salesperson put in into whatever native CAD software your design team uses. So I'm not trying to replace CAD. I'm trying to build this sort of semi-automatic this semi-automation into some complicated parts of your design flow, so that the logic is nicely controlled, so that, the interface is restricted in reasonable parametrics and stuff like that, and you still get to use, all your design team still gets to use whatever tools they're comfortable with. They don't really have to learn some crazy weird new design tool. That's the dream. Have you checked WebGL instead of SVG? Yeah, not so smart contract. That is on the feature list. Absolutely. You're 100% correct to point out that using SVG for the live side of things is not the correct approach. It was just, I don't know why I started with it. I just did because it was fun. The SVG side of things makes really nice static drawings and stuff like that. In my opinion, the vector graphics are quite beautiful, so it makes good technical figures. And then the idea is for the live update stuff, you have some fast WebGL render that, you know, when you click submit or whatever, it can render out the nice SVG line work to get really crisp PDF outputs and stuff like that. But the details of that are as yet undetermined. But WebGL is totally part of the equation here. The 3D modeling side of all of this, I'm building into a Clojure data structure to make it as agnostic as possible. The idea being that you don't even necessarily need a web front end at all. You could just take my library, it builds out the 3D model data structure, and then you can either build your own sort of parse wrapper around that to convert it to whatever you need, or I'll have a few things in there to help you export to important types. Yeah, SVGs are DOM heavy stuff. Implementing a real 3D object with WebGL and WebAssembly seems more realistic and performant. You're totally right. I'm not at all thinking of using SVG as the live moving part of things. That is completely not what I'm doing. I am honestly, I was amazed that this worked even as real time as it does, if that makes sense. When I first did this, because I totally didn't expect it to be good. Yeah, so, you know, as a proof of concept, though, I'm proud of this as a bit of an effort here. What I like is, so here, the number of plates increases, which technically means the length of this tube is dependent on it. So you can see the number of plates being rendered here increases, but the total length of this extrusion here also changes with that number, right? So the entire thing is fully, like, it's all self-interdependent, right? Which is pretty cool. I see. Hope the project gets the success you're planning. Oh, I hope so too. So I come from a manufacturing background, so I've got, luckily, I've got enough what I would call trusted connections that I can do, you know, kind of nice close beta testing in an actual manufacturing scenario with a really low consequence to failure, if that makes sense. I mean, the consequence is I don't get any business, which is not good, but it's not like it's not like I'll ruin someone's workflow or make someone's life really painful if I can't make a good product. So that kind of takes off a little bit of pressure, but it leaves the pressure on for me to come up with something that is compelling enough that manufacturers want to use it in certain cases. So this is going to be an important year for me, but it's very exciting. I spent most of today chatting and not really programming, unfortunately for me. Don't let, you know, anyone, that is always my own fault. That's never the fault of anyone chatting. It's always fun to talk about these kinds of ideas because they just fascinate me. So I'm actually, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm having a good time, I guess, is really what I'm getting at here. But yeah, not so smart contract. SVG in general, it's really cool in my opinion. The thing I'm working on today is this SVG Path Element. The Path Element has this string here, this D property, and it basically has its own entire language that I'm trying to kind of parse out appropriately here into Clojure data structures. And what I have, if I do, let's get to, what did I call it earlier? Here. Okay. Def B is this. Okay, so B is my little very simple test sequence of absolute path commands. What I want to do is make a few functions that will take this and reconstruct the string. That's the goal for the rest of the stream. Looks like I've got about just a little over 30 minutes to do that. I think I could slap something together. We'll see how things go. I always used tools for SVGs, never learned how to hand code them. Yeah, so I think more often than not, it's the wise decision to use tools instead of hand coding. Because, well, those tools are often pretty powerful. If you're talking Adobe Illustrator or Inkscape, which is the open source Illustrator kind of thing, you're going to get good, powerful functionality from those things. And to be totally clear, I still use graphical tools to actually draw SVGs out a lot of the time. Someone has to write the tools. Well, and that's the thing, right? This library here is a programmatic approach to it. It will not replace Inkscape, but it will be, I mean, I do use it now instead of Inkscape for a lot of things. So there's some kind of middle ground, because Inkscape is great, but there's a bit of, it's not like the most fun to use all the time, I guess is a nice, safe way to say it. Like, if I had to draw all of these up independently in Inkscape, I don't know that I would have as much fun making all these diagrams. And doing it programmatically gets you the benefit of code reuse and good precision with all kinds of stuff. So it's got some positives to it. And this library is totally trying to be right in the middle of using a graphical tool for all kinds of stuff and literally writing XML tags yourself. Given, okay, path segment takes the previous command and the current command, and then it does a thing. It does this merge. Let's see what that looks like. I don't remember. So if I map path segment over partition to one of sequence B, it didn't work. Okay, well, if I partition to 1B, okay, good. If I take the first from this partition, I get a pair of commands. And this first pair is a move command, and the second is a line command. Okay, so what is wrong with that? Now, if I run path segment on just this partition, oh, that worked. Okay, so something went wrong somewhere else. Okay. Writing tools is fun. Also the possibility of bugs. In the tools or in custom tools? I guess there's possibilities of bugs everywhere, right? I'm doing my best to minimize minimize them on my end. I mean, I can't ever make the promise that there won't be any, right? But doing what I can. I mean, kind of the best way to ensure that there are no bugs is to write no code. You were joking? Oh, yeah. Well, so it's totally true, right? Custom tools can have bugs too. I guess one thing that a lot of people in Clojure, one thing a lot of people like about Clojure is it generally encourages, by philosophy, it encourages writing small and simple libraries. And the nice thing there is if you get good at doing that, you can minimize, if you have less code in total, you have less surface area for bugs to arise. So just by the nature of writing simpler tools, either you create fewer bugs in general, and or the bugs you do run into can be easier to reason about, so you can find solutions nicely. That is the philosophical nice thing that I like about Clojure. Even professional tools have bugs. That's why there's a new version every year. Oh yeah, Mike, I'm well aware of professional tools having bugs. I'm well aware. I used to use SolidWorks for 3D modeling all the time. In my opinion, a really powerful program. I used to love it quite a bit. I'm really good at it, so that's always satisfying. But I don't know. There's a lot of features in it now, and over the years, a lot of those features have gone either essentially unmaintained. So if there's some like esoteric feature, you know, where you had to crawl deep into the menus to figure out how to switch this that way and whatnot, that's where you find the bugs. And those ones are not fun to run into, especially when you have drawing deadlines. It's crazy stuff. But, you know, that's the nature of the beast. Sometimes anyway. Okay, so I have a dispatch value null. Where did that one come from? Let's find out. Okay, well, let's just run through. So I took first of the partition. Let's take second. That one works. I have to go to nth. 0, 1, 2. Okay, and then so it must be this last one that breaks. So why would that be? Let's take nth partition to 1 of B, 3. Oh, what did I just do now? Am I being silly? What's going on here? Partition to 1B. Okay, 150 to 75 is the first one. 75 to 255. Second one. 255. Oh yeah, of course. Being a little bit silly here. I'm very much in the camp that believes minimizing the total amount of code is always a win, even if it means the code that remains is a bit more complicated. It's an interesting stance to take. I think I mostly agree. Yeah, Mike, I was pretty much just going to say that there's a sweet spot between maintainability and readability. But I tend toward Mistran's kind of approach here. Like, one has to be careful to minimize the amount of code right now as opposed to some hypothetical point or you'll never get anything done. Yeah. Always that balance, right? That the word balance shows up again and again. Mistran, Mike, I think, has seen me do it before on streams. I say a lot of the time, I'll have whole sections, like I'll split things off like this and say old method, right? And then, you know, the next day will come around and I'll just go like this. Boom, just get rid of it completely. And I always love it when that happens. I mean, unless I pull the trigger a little too quickly. Oh, what's going on here? Let's not get hasty here. But yeah, deleting whole bits of code usually feels really nice. Oh, I lost myself here. Old method. This is not an old method. Let's not should not be hasty. All right, let's get back to it. Here we are. Okay. Okay, so I don't quite understand what I did wrong. Oh, did I never map it? There we go. Leash. There's no point abstracting stuff if you only need one variation. Ah, okay. You know, that makes complete sense. It's similar to but different than don't optimize. No, it's not the same as don't optimize prematurely. It's you ain't gonna need it, right? Utterly unreadable code is often the code that is trying to minimize the amount of code in some hypothetical future that never materializes. Yeah, okay. See, I'm on board with what you're saying there. That makes complete sense to me. Something I say to myself on stream and off is, okay, I'm just going to do it the dumb way. And if you do something the dumb way, you can then start to do it the smarter way and kind of chisel away at things, right? But if you do it the dumb way first instead of the most clever way, then you definitely avoid abstracting some hypothetical future, like you say. Now, the downside to doing it the dumb way is if you don't ever do it a smarter way, then you kind of just have dumb code everywhere. In which case, like if you do it the really dumb way, you haven't written code, you've just hard-coded values everywhere, and that's obviously not helpful either. So this idea of a path segment, I need to check if this is actually enough data to produce the string out of it. So if let's define C. I'm really bad at using A, B, and C in my REPL, and I always overwrite things and forget what I've done before. I hope it's a little bit easy to follow what I'm doing. I'm just kind of building out transformation steps in my REPL as I go. It's a little messy, but my brain is a little messy, so I apologize, but that's just going to have to be okay. Oh, here's one thing that doesn't make any sense. This third segment that I have here is just a close tag, which is not, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, so this is obviously not working. So especially if I look at B here, actually let's go to A, the original string for all this data. So if I look at C, the first segment here it says is a line, and it has a SX and SY is start X and start Y, okay, which is good except for the fact that I have not put into this map the end X, end Y, which is what I need to be able to draw a line. So this function isn't working. Okay, well that's good to know. I can work with that. Always do the dumb way first, then abstract it when you have the second application and want to share the code. That's absolutely my my approach. I am a master of doing things the dumb way. You know, so when I was a little younger, I worked at well, first of all, my family business. I mean, I don't own any of it anymore or anything, but we had greenhouses. So I would work in the greenhouses doing cleaning and planting and all that stuff. But we also had a manufacturing place, which I still have access to sometimes. It's a little bit of a perk, I guess you could say. I used to, this is related to doing things the dumb way. I used to work, and oh, this is an old project I did, by the way. I used to love this thing. Really silly, but it was a lot of fun. Let's see, I think I have a little GIF here. There's my TV. This thing here. I used to work on this machine, this laser tube cutter, okay? And let me tell you, you get pretty comfortable with making mistakes Like, there was one night I ran an order and I used the wrong material and I cut up easily a couple $1,000s worth of tubes. I mean, the part was right. It was just material that was technically marked for someone else's project. So, this window manager needs a bit of, there we go. So, one, you don't make those mistakes a lot, but two, it really humbles you quickly, you know? So that kind of, I wouldn't say it's a good thing, but I learned how to make mistakes, working on equipment like that. But mistakes are totally the path to correct things at some point. So, you know what? I'm kind of happy for those little things here and there. I'm also happy for forgiving bosses. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I get the starting X and starting Y from okay. So here, no. Well, let's try to find where, let's just add end X and end Y. Where do those have to come from? So they have to come from the current one, right? So parse command input current, so CCI, and that'll just be pull X from CCI and pull Y from CCI. CCI, I think I want it to mean current command input, I suppose. Let's see if that's going to work the way I expect it to. Okay. All right, so this first line, let's see if we have all the data I need here. So it's a line type, coordinates are absolute, starting position is 150 x 0 y, and then the end position is 75 200. Let's see here. Anyway, I need some fresh air, so spare you from further opinions of mine. Hey, Mistrin, go get yourself some fresh air. You can come on over and share your opinions anytime. It was great to have you tune in for a bit. Maybe I'll see you around. No pressure, of course, but have a good one, okay? And good luck with your C++ projects. Part of me wonders if I should instead encode this as like in a map like this, start point like that, and then give it 150 0, and then another one called endpoint, and then have that be that one. I wonder if that'll be better. Well, you've got you have a lot of strong opinions, and not everyone always agrees, and I can appreciate that. Anyway, take care. Yeah, have a good one. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in. Oh. This might be a little late here. I'm noticing a little... What's going on here? Oh, I see. I was just distracted by my stream manager dashboard here. It's nothing important. Distracted is the name of my game today, apparently. But that's not exactly new, so. Okay, that's that, okay. Like I said, I want to get this path segment to a point where I can build this string out of, let's just make path segment to path string. These names are horrendous. So I'm gonna, just for the sake of getting this built up so I can kind of tweak it later, I'm gonna just build this out to take a single path segment map and stringify it in the way that I want it to. So in order to do that effectively, I should probably destructure this right away into its keys. This syntax is still confusing to me. I haven't memorized it nicely yet. So this keys destructuring thing here, since I know that the path segment is going to be a map coming in, and I know that at least as of right now, the segment definition has all of these keys, I can just list out all the keys I need in this vector here, and it will bind them to their symbols right away. So that's a little messy, but that should, if I just say, for example, do this, return the type. If I do def D is the first from C, okay. If I run path segment to path string of D, I should get a keyword line from that. Oop, I have instead an error. Well, that's fine. I can solve that. But before I solve that, I'm going to go to the washroom. I'll be right back. Okay. I am giving myself... Ooh, my watch is congratulating me for standing up. I'm giving myself 10 to 15 minutes. Then I should get going. And I think I can make this thing output some strings if I were to do this correctly. What did I mess up though? Let's have a peek here. I'm still clearly not comfortable with the keys destructuring syntax. I need to, I don't know why I can't, I need to get it right in my head. Oh, here's probably what it is. This, no. Collapse the old path implementation. I'm not looking at that yet. This I probably, in the, yeah, I think this might be correct now, because that wasn't a let statement, it was just the direct, yeah, there we go, okay. I had copied exactly the approach that I did with this, which is inside a let statement, so you need to pass in the symbol into the let in order to be able to do that. Keys destructuring, but if you destructure with the keys directly in the argument statement, you obviously don't need to bind a symbol to it at all, or you don't need to pass the symbol to it. Blah blah blah, what am I saying? Okay, so here the obvious first thing to do, string the type with a space. The coordinates, no, that's silly. I mean, because it's obviously not what I need to do. So I'm wondering, so what I've done earlier in this whole thing, I used this function command key with a bunch of conditionals to create to give the command key. I'm wondering if I shouldn't be that clever, if to get the command string I should actually just use the literal string of the command as the as the key. I don't know if that's a good idea. Let's stick with the choice I made the other day and not worry about that yet. So what I'll need to do instead is make a mapping from type key to type string. So that's why I'm second guessing this now, because basically instead of making a conditional, I could pretty much do, I could represent the same kind of thing as command key 2, basically I could just do this whole dealio where all I do is split and keep. So if I take the command string, I just want to string split it. It should just be first of string split command string on A to Z of, oh, what's the look forward? It's this here. You question equals I don't know. I just don't know. Okay. First of path command strings is M150. So command key 2. I don't think I did it right, but what I want it to do is just return me the string M. Oh, okay, so that's not it yet. What did I do wrong here? The reason I'm trying to think about this is more command map is more related to should I just have done this even simpler, something kind of like this. Command map is just move M line L, right? Like that. That way, so with the command map, I could actually just run all the way down here. You know what? I'll put that in and I'll find a way to handle it better later. Because right now I don't want to make a hard decision about how to handle it. I'm guessing I will probably revisit this with the idea of probably just using the strings directly as keys instead of making my own key set here. And even if I do use my own key set, it might make sense to not make a function out of this that uses conditionals, but instead just use a map that will use two maps. One map is the strings to the keys, and then the other map is the keys to the strings. So one is just the inverse map of the other. I don't know if that's smart either, but that's something I'll think about off stream, because sitting here and thinking silently to myself is a little weird. So probably want to revisit this approach. The cond seems replaceable with just a simple map, or consider not using this at all, just use the strings as their own keys directly. Right, so dispatch, instead of dispatching on the key here like this, you just dispatch on the string that's in there. Not too hard. In fact, I could probably even turn this def multi into a thing that literally takes the string segment and does all of it in one go. So I just kind of collapse the logic of this a little bit, clean it up, tighten it up a little bit. But hey, let's get a structure that works and go from there. That's all I'm trying to do today. Just get something that works and go from there. So let's paste in the command map and just start reversing all this here. Oh, where'd it go? Here we are. Okay. Okie dokie. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20 21 22 23 24 25 26 27 28 29 30 31 32 33 34 35 36 37 38 39 40 41 42 43 44 45 46 47 48 49 50 51 52 53 54 55 56 57 58 59 60 61 62 63 64 65 66 67 68 69 70 71 72 73 74 75 76 77 78 79 80 81 82 83 84 85 86 87 88 89 90 91 92 93 94 95 96 97 98 99 100 101 102 103 104 105 106 107 108 109 110 111 112 113 114 115 116 117 118 119 120 121 122 123 124 125 126 127 128 129 130 131 132 133 134 135 136 137 138 139 140 141 142 143 144 145 146 147 148 149 150 151 152 153 154 155 156 157 158 159 160 Part of me wants to become one of those devs that never uses a mouse, you know? Be a wizard with keyboard shortcuts. But part of me wants to like go outside and spend my life away from the computer as well. And I just feel like I'm not actually knocking anyone who does know all that stuff, because it's really cool, like sincerely, but I don't know, I just feel like I don't have enough, I don't have the right combination of time or desire. But that's probably more an excuse than anything. Do it, learn how to use i3, super easy, and make you very effective. That is i3, like the window manager, right? Is that what you're referring to? Yeah, I came down really harsh just then. I don't know why I was being so mean. i3, yeah, you use it. So when I mentioned it before, I'm gearing up to make some purchases and changes to my computational setup. What I want to do is get a more powerful computer and run some form of Linux or BSD thing that is not Mac OS. And I am 100% going to use a tiling window manager and using keyboard shortcuts. I have in the past used i3 as well, and I absolutely do love it. I got this Mac. It was an opportunistic purchase. I've never used a Mac before, and there's a lot of stuff I like about using Mac OS, but I think I'll have more fun longer term with my own Linux setup and proper good old window manager and all the keyboard shortcuts and everything. At that point, totally on board. Mac OS just hasn't encouraged me to be smart with all the keyboard shortcuts, I guess. But yeah, i3 is really cool. Or if not i3, things like Xmonad was one I tried as well. I was really confused with that one at the time. I'm sure I would understand it better now. There's all kinds of different ones that are pretty good, like Herbsluft VM or whatever. Like there's all kinds of weird names and everything. There's like Rat Poison was like, I think, an older one, and they all have the same general concept. i3 is the popular one that I've heard of a bunch. I'm pretty sure that one doesn't work with like the Wayland graphic or window manager or whatever Xorg is. Xserver is it's not a window manager, it's a app server. I don't know what the term is for that, but there's like the Xorg Xserver, and then there's Wayland, which is like the newer one, and there's splits, and I don't know what I'm talking about at this point. But you know, when I have a nice opportunity for that new desktop, I'm going all in on that kind of stuff. Should be a lot of fun. So this command map looks good for now. I'll do that. So here, taking a segment, turning it back into a string, the first element of that is always going to be the command, but it will either be upper or lowercase depending on the value of chord system. So let's let the command be never heard of that. Run i3 with Debian, no issues at all. I boot into XFCE the other day and panicked. He didn't know how to snap Windows. Yeah, that's the downside of learning such crazy tools, right? Is you feel so lost without them. Is it Wayland Linux? I'm kind of talking from like old memory at this point, so you know, huge grain of salt and all that. Wayland is here. It's intended as a simple replacement for X. Easier to develop and maintain. GNOME and KDE are expected to be ported to it. It's a protocol for a compositor to talk to its clients. Okay, so this is the word I was thinking of, or trying to think of, called compositor there. Does i3 work with Wayland? I think not, but I also don't think it matters. Like, Wayland does not have great adoption at this point, I think. This is from 2012, so this could be really old. (2013). Yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about. You know, forget it. It doesn't matter all that much anyway. I mean, I'm going to experiment a little bit when the time comes, and there's a good chance I'll end up using i3, but who knows? But i3 Debian is like, if I'm trying a bunch of different stuff and I decide, you know what, I don't want to deal with any of this, i3 Debian is like the de facto, at the very least, I'm using this because I know it will be stable. I know it'll be good. So you can't go wrong with that as a baseline. And I'm excited to actually get into that again. Should be fun. Of course, the downside there is you could end up spending the rest of your life just customizing customizing your workstation. Also not good. Okay, C is either going to be if chord system, I'm doing this such a ridiculous way. If chord system is absolute, then C is just command map type. Wait. You want to, this is hard to read. Let's do get from command map the type. Okay. Otherwise, string slash lowercase get command map type. Okay. Methinks this is bad code, but I'll press on. Oh, this is also not. No, that's fine. Okay, so this is a path segment that completely stands on its own. Let's go with that. So the first thing I actually need to do is produce the first part of this command, which I'm just going to default to the move command. So the initial command M, I'll put in front here, or put first here, is going to be string the M sx space sy. Okay, that's the move command. Then the command is going to be C, and so the move string, command string will be string C with ex space ey. And that might be everything I need. Then the result is just string it all together. So you string the move string with a space, and then the close or the command string. Okay. Well, I should maybe define command map, don't you think? Yeah, there we go. Okay, let's see if this ridiculous thing will work. I think it will. Let's see. If you want some pointers on i3 and Debian and tmux, I'd be happy to share my cheat sheet of stuff. Oh man, Mike, that sounds great. You know, when it comes to it, I don't know when it'll happen, but soon enough, I will absolutely, I'll absolutely be calling on you for that kind of stuff. It'll be great. I do know a little bit of tmux actually. There was a time where oh, maybe I could even show it. there's this, since I'm so distracted anyway, okay, here I have my iPad, right? There's this, well, my keyboard might not be working anymore. Oh, I don't, okay, so what I used to do was SSH using this thing called Blink Shell. I would SSH into a droplet, like a DigitalOcean VPS droplet. And then I would use tmux to do some Clojure development while I was like at work or at like just somewhere else. And it was really awesome. It was a lot of fun. Oh yeah, this is not working that great anymore. A little hard to see it as well. It's been a while since I've used this, so you know what? Not a great example, but point is, I had installed Emacs on the VPS. I didn't have a graphical interface or anything, right? So it was just all terminal based. And so I figured out how to get tmux working so I could do screen splits and all that kind of stuff. It was a lot of fun. So the tmux side of things, I know a little bit, but I was always really scared to change the key bindings around a lot. I never wanted to make a binding that would interfere with, like if you had a tmux binding that would supersede a program's binding inside it. I was always scared to have conflicts like that. So I didn't change too much, but it was fun. Like it all worked out really nicely. And I looked like a pro hacker kind of thing. Obviously, the aesthetic of being a hacker is more important than knowing what you're doing. Obviously not true. And I used it for Clojure development. It was fun. It was cool. And I plan on doing it again later on at some point. Not out of practicality, just out of a sense of fun more than anything. All right, I've been talking a lot today. I'm going to try run this for a moment. Path segment to path string of D. Okay, you know what? That's pretty good. See this? D is the first segment portion from, so this is the complete string. The first segment is just D here, so that is for sure looking okay. If I take, let's do def E as the second element from C. E is just this whole thing. If I run path segment to path string of E, this second part here, it looks different than this here, but this is a valid SVG path string just on its own, which was the goal here. So I could make two completely different path elements using the first part, using this and using this. Whereas if I just took A and did this, if I just copied this first bit, this would be valid on its own, but the next part here, I think would not. Anyway, so far, this is actually working the way I want it to. Probably want to think about how to clean it up a little bit, but it's something, and something is better than nothing. So I'm going to chalk that one up as a mild success. All right, I am going to get going. I have to, actually I have to go right now. Got things to do and people to see. Not too many people, an appropriate amount of socially distanced people, to be completely honest. I'm not joking. I take that stuff seriously. All right. I had a good time today. Thanks, Mike. I know, or I think you're probably still tuned in. I always appreciate it when you're popping in. And other people tuned in too today. Might not be here at the moment, but I really appreciate that as well. I will be back again tomorrow, and I hope everyone has a good time, and I'll see you later. All right, I do have to go, so goodbye.